Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome all of you, faculty, staff, students, members of the Board of Governors, and our community guests. Thank you for taking the time out of your day today to join us for the President's State of the University Address. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mary Jo Haddad, your Chancellor of the University of Windsor. Since this event is being held virtually, a singular land acknowledgement does not capture the richness of the participants across many locations in the world. As many of the attendees are located in Windsor, I would like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwa, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi. Attendees are invited to consider their own position with regard to the land where they find themselves. As we make this land acknowledgement, it's also really important that we continue to do the work to address systemic and historic injustices that Indigenous peoples have experienced. I am very pleased to join you as we reflect on the achievements of the past year and as we focus on the key priorities for 2022. After the formal presentation, you will have the opportunity to participate by asking questions through the chat feature. We'll turn this feature on at the end of the President's address. Please submit your questions then, and we will get to as many of them as time will permit. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our Dr. Robert Gordon, 7th President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Windsor. Dr. Gordon has been steadfast in his commitment to leading our university through many challenges of the pandemic, while ensuring we remain focused on our academic mission and student success. Dr. Gordon.
Thank you so much, Mary Jo. It's certainly great to be here. Before we begin, I watched the devastating news of more unmarked graves of children at Williams Lake First Nation yesterday. During the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, survivors and their families told the nation that there were unmarked graves and mass burial sites of Indigenous peoples on the grounds of former Indian residential schools across the country. The testimonies at that time recorded what Indigenous peoples had long known about the horrific legacy and ongoing trauma caused by residential schools. Our thoughts are with Williams Lake First Nation and the many other First Nations communities today that are having to continue to deal with the grief and traumas and the losses of children's lives. It's long past time that we all face and address this history. The wrongings that were inflicted on Indigenous communities, the devastating effect residential schools have had and continue to have on Indigenous peoples, and the intergenerational traumas many continue to experience. Well, everyone, it's certainly been a long, hard year. Like all of you, I have often been tired and frustrated as we deal with all of the challenges that we're facing on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes this past year felt a bit like what we see out our windows here in the administration building at the University of Windsor just about every single day. Workers on the Ambassador Bridge have been painstakingly rebuilding it. They seem to move forward, then begin again further back, working on the bridge from above, from inside, from underneath. And all the time while they're trying to rebuild that bridge, trucks and cars are continuously moving over it in both directions. This isn't too different to the work we've been doing to build our university over the past year. When I say this, I don't just mean the constant need to respond to changing health conditions. I'm also talking about the work we've collectively begun to do at the University of Windsor, deeply needed work, to seriously contend with racism, oppression, and marginalization of our campus and in our community. We need to build a culture of greater respect, accountability, and belonging for everyone, while also continuing to enhance our commitment to academic excellence, student success, public accountability, community engagement, and real impact. Some days it doesn't feel like progress is being made, but it is, and I'm so grateful for our entire university community. Look what we've accomplished. Members of our community consistently live and champion values that support learning, knowledge creation, community and social justice, and compassion, both because of and despite everything this past year has thrown us. And every day as we respond to these challenges, we're learning. The effort to learn individually and collectively has pushed us to think beyond how we have normally operated. We are growing and evolving as a university. We have a long way to go on many fronts and still have much to learn from how we've changed and are changing on a daily basis. So there's a road of discovery ahead for each and every one of us. What hasn't changed is our commitment to the core mission of the University of Windsor. It's time to recognize and celebrate how far we've come, how much we've done, how much heart and grit and courage you've all shown. It's also time to begin to talk about the work that's ahead of us and how we're going to start to set the course for the future. As I've been thinking about the year that's just passed, it seems to me that there really are four important themes that reflect important aspects of how we've responded to the challenges we've all faced. You might think of them as our bridges that we're building while we continue to drive on them. They are courage, compassion, conviction, and community. The pandemic has certainly continued to test all of us, though in different ways and with greater and lesser severity depending on your context, identity, and experience. So when I talk about courage, I want you to understand that the courage to tackle what COVID-19 and all of the other challenges we faced this past year looks different in every single person because of what you're having to deal with is not the same. I want to certainly start off by recognizing the incredible efforts and courage of a group of more than 250 University of Windsor employees who have worked face-to-face on campus from the beginning of the pandemic, no matter what stage we were in. These teams have ensured that necessary campus activities never ceased. From looking after our residences and other students, to keeping the lights and servers and heat on, to securing campus buildings, to supporting our research programs, to doing the work of readying the campus for socially distanced and safe return for the rest of us. I want to thank you all. These important teams last year were joined on campus by many others, researchers, students, faculty, and staff. And for each of us, the process of coming back was a little different. For some of us, a relief, for others, an inconvenience, and for others, a source of challenge, frustration, and certainly anxiety. I hope that the return to campus process evolves. As it evolves, we will all find our way to a sense of how important it is for all of us to come back, to be part of this vibrant university community in support of one another and our institutional mission. Some units on campus have taken the lead in working out the challenges of returning to campus earlier than others. These were often some of the most complex but critical locations to reopen. For example, configuring residence to meet the safety and campus life needs of students during the pandemic, reopening labs across campus, solving the challenges of wellness and fitness at the St. Denis Center, supporting our incredible varsity teams as they proudly represented the University of Windsor, and reopening the library as an important hub for study, support, and social contact for all of our students, whether studying face-to-face or online. As a side note, the Leddy Library welcomed more than 37,000 visitors this past fall and provided a real sense of belonging and an important touch point for many of our students across the university. For many, this past year has been a time of contending with, and best case, embracing the unfamiliar, from using new technologies to working with different people on new as well as on unfamiliar challenges. One area where this has been front and center is in teaching and learning, where tried and true approaches have sometimes had to give way to workarounds, adjustments, and entirely new ways of doing things to support our learning environments. The quote on this slide comes from a reflection penned by one of the university's 20 open learning digital fluency fellows who engaged with a provincial initiative aimed at building local capacity for humanizing online learning during the pandemic. The diagram reflects the key themes of their work together. The University of Windsor's team was facilitated by faculty members from the Office of Open Learning and the Faculty of Education, and we are so thankful. Students certainly stepped up courageously too during this past year. From the nursing, education, and social work students who collectively offered more than 550,000 hours of service in the community, to the student leaders, safety ambassadors, teaching assistants, GAs, RAs, and others who took on the challenge of supporting knowledge creation across our institution. And a special thanks to many of the students who've put their faces, voices, and hearts out there to advocate and educate our entire community throughout the pandemic. 2021 was certainly a year where when many showed the courage to speak up and speak out and push us to be better as a university. It was a period where we began to face up to the work that needs to be done in order for our campus to become the inclusive, safe, just, and welcoming space that everyone in our community needs it to be. We have had a history of reports, studies, and commissions that repeatedly identified core challenges that needed to be addressed, and a history of not living up to the efforts many made to identify those challenges. We mean to do better this time, and we have begun to do the work that is necessary. I believe that living up to this commitment and the change and learning that it requires will become something we can all be proud of. I am truly excited by what I see unfolding on campus, though I know we have a long way to go, and I invite every member of our campus community to reflect on what they can individually do to move this important work forward. It's important to also acknowledge and honor the strength, courage, and commitment of people from racialized communities who so often must take on the work of dismantling racism, discrimination, and oppression. There are so many voices calling for change, and individuals are taking on important leadership roles in our community and campus. I invite everyone to reflect on what they can do to move this important work forward. This is a time for all of us to be courageous and to commit to making that as real and lasting change that is really impactful. The appointment of Dr. Clinton Beckford as the Acting Vice President, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in May of 2021 has been a key milestone as we have worked to build a team to lead and advocate for change, inclusion, and equity on campus. Our University of Windsor Senate recently established a bylaw governing this important role at our institution. And I invite you to visit the Vice President, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion's website to follow the amazing work his team is leading across the university. The Anti-Black Racism Task Force was established in the fall of 2020 and pursued its work in identifying priorities for substantive change to address anti-Black racism at the university. The report was formally submitted in December of 2021. I want to personally thank all of the members of the task force for taking on this heavy burden. We are currently preparing an action plan with an implementation team to be launched next month with strong accountability to our community. We need for everyone to see and know what we are doing and the progress we are making as a university. As the work of the task force unfolded, the university also began to put in place a number of initiatives and roles that it was already clear would be necessary moving forward and which were urgently needed. These include the appointment of the Director, Anti-Racism and Organizational Change, a Black Student Support Coordinator, a clinical therapist for Black and racialized students, and the first Anti-Racism Pedagogies Teaching Leadership Chair. The initial phase of the Racialized Data Framework has also been completed, and over 2,000 students have participated to date. An anti-Black racism education framework has also been established, and in 2021, programming for faculty, staff, the Board of Governors, and leadership teams from across the university was offered. Also, a third-party review of student disciplinary procedures was also launched, which will be completed later this year, to inform procedures and structures to supersede our current interim measures. These efforts are continuing to unfold and are already making significant contributions to support a culture of change on campus. It is important, however, that we all take responsibility for this work together. All post-secondary institutions also have obligations under the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action, as well as the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, calls for justice, to end injustice and to address the legacy of abuse, trauma, and violence that Indigenous peoples have experienced and continue to experience. We recognize how important it is for the University of Windsor to take action and do the work necessary to address systemic racism, historic injustices, and intergenerational traumas. As many of you may know, Dr. Bev Jacobs was recently appointed to the role of Senior Advisor to the President on Indigenous Relations and Outreach. And I'm looking forward to learning from her and working with her as she begins to chart a path forward. Supporting Dr. Jacobs in this role is an important first step, but the work and responsibility is all of ours. A number of important initial steps were taken this past year, and these will continue throughout the year ahead. It's all about relationship building, establishing trust, confidence, and accountability. Through the leadership of Dr. Bedford, we will be conducting an extensive review of our equity, diversity, inclusion, indigeneity, and decolonization policies, procedures, and structures across the university. Planning is already underway for this important work. We're also working closely to implement the changes to the recently ratified WUFA collective agreement. We are proud of our relationship with the Faculty Association and in supporting important changes related to equity, diversity, and inclusion that were negotiated through our collective bargaining efforts last summer. I also want to personally thank WUFA and all of our other employee groups for their tremendous support and leadership throughout the pandemic. Our Board of Governors are also fully committed to leading with this important work, as they have endorsed the University of Windsor to be one of nearly 1,400 organizations across Canada who have become signatories to the federal 50/30 Challenge. The goal of the 50/30 Challenge is to have gender parity on the Board of Governors and with senior management, as well as a 30% representation of other equity deserving groups. We have also encouraged many other organizations here in Windsor, Essex to also become signatories to the 50/30 Challenge. We must lead by example. Last year pushed us all. In some ways and on some days we were divided, and these days frustration can be a familiar if unwanted companion. We've experienced loss, and I think we're all grieving in one way or another. Some of us for loved ones and friends, but also for what we've lost, our plans for the future, our idea of what the first year of university is like, our connections with others, the patterns and habits that brought us comfort and joy. In the face of these losses and this suffering, I have seen amazing acts of compassion and incredible efforts to support each other on a daily basis. We've learned a lot more about each other this past year, about each other's kids and pets and home decor choices. Even though we've lost some ways of learning about each other too, I think we all miss bumping into colleagues on campus and the hallway conversations that are such an important part of connecting with one another. We've become more compassionate about each other's as individuals. A key question is, what should that learning look like as we apply it to our responsibilities as an organization? We have work to do in this area, but I'll come back to that in a few minutes. One thing I've been struck with by this past year is some of the ways that compassion in this pandemic era has seemed to inform the focus of many people's knowledge creation and creativity. For example, in 2021, University of Windsor researchers pursued 31 COVID-19 related funded projects with a total value of more than $1.5 million. These, of course, represent only a fraction of the significant and impactful research going on across our institution each and every day. Support for mental health continues to be an area of importance. I want to acknowledge the enormous efforts of many on campus, particularly given that today is Bell Let's Talk Day, and also to direct you to this week's Lancer Care campaign. There have been many university workshops focused on mental health, as well as efforts from virtual water coolers to drop-in sessions to virtual trivia nights, aimed at providing opportunities for people to connect. Still, this is an area where we need to continue to focus our efforts, particularly given the challenges that many are facing as we approach the 2-year mark of this pandemic. One key area where we have already begun to make these changes is in the Office of Student Experience, which in 2021 was reorganized to focus fully on student support, student experience, campus life, leadership development, and fostering just, safe, and welcoming campus spaces and experiences for everyone. Dr. Phoebe Lamb was appointed as Acting Associate Vice President Student Experience this past spring and is doing an incredible job in leading these efforts. Across the university, people have truly focused throughout this past year on supporting students, whether they are on campus or online. Engaging and supporting students happens everywhere and in everything that we do. I know that for many, a sense of belonging is connected with a lab or a club or a cohort of other students, and our departments all over campus have worked hard to provide these connections virtually as well as face-to-face when possible. One major and impactful student experience initiative that was developed this past year is the BIDE Institute: Belonging, Inclusivity, Diversity, and Equity. Through these 4 pillars, the BIDE provides students support, advocacy, and connection delivered from passion, perspective, and experience. The 2021-22 BIDE team is made up of 11 exceptional student leaders supported by the Office of Student Experience and the Office of the Vice President, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. One particularly inspiring initiative that I'm looking forward to is United You Win, which will bring Lancer community together, focusing on kindness, healing, and courage through dialogue and collective creative practice. The first element, 30 plus 30 days of kindness, focuses first on recognizing kindness in the community, then on acts of kindness. The Healing Memorial and Wall of Courage projects engage members of the community in creative art projects aimed at helping people to begin to heal from the pandemic, honoring our losses, and reflecting on how compassion and courage have carried us through the challenges of the past 2 years. These initiatives are so inspiring and necessary for our university community. Campus climate, mental health, and wellness are going to be a focus of planning and action in 2022. The pandemic has reminded us how impactful kindness and compassion are, but they are always important. We are working on a number of immediate and short-term strategies to support our university community. And I especially want to strongly urge all of our employees to take part in the employee engagement survey this spring, which will provide us with information to measure our progress in this important area and in the strategic planning consultations taking place over the course of the next year as well. I also want to celebrate this community's collective commitment to the university's mission, to teaching, research, and creative activity, service, and collegiality. I know we can tell you on almost a daily basis that we are putting everyone's health and safety first, and it continues to be true. What may not always be obvious is the enormous, cross-functional effort that has gone into the essential work across the university. Every single unit on campus has been part of this effort. And as you return to campus, every individual is part of it too. The safety procedures that protect us are multi-layered and integrated, and making them work takes an enormous and coordinated effort. From health and safety and IT services, to facilities and ancillary services, to the registrar's office, to public affairs and communications, student experience, recruitment and experiential learning, research support, finance, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and in all of the faculties across the institution, the effort has been simply phenomenal. I also want to celebrate the conviction, flexibility, unwavering commitment, and ingenuity of instructors, graduate assistants, and teaching assistants, and all of those who support them in units like the Office of Open Learning, the Center for Teaching and Learning, and IT Services. We are greatly indebted to all of you. The range of solutions to the challenges of teaching and learning during a global pandemic have been extraordinary, truly reflective of the ways disciplines operate and the ways people learn. The incredible passion for coming together to sing, even if they have to be physically apart, showing by the choir team here, is just one of many, many examples of how instructors and teams have gone that extra mile to make learning possible and bring students together. The university's commitment to research and creative activity mission has also been unwavering. This past year, the University of Windsor researchers published 1,189 peer-reviewed articles, more than in any previous year in our history. That's an incredible accomplishment. It also represents more than 3 articles per day. And this doesn't include the large variety of creative and research work that has been produced, which isn't captured in these traditional research metrics. Hundreds of labs and studies have taken the arduous process of revising practices and procedures to align with COVID-19 protocols. And teams from across campus, including Research Innovation Services, the Research Safety Team, and Health and Safety, our Research Ethics Board, and faculty-based research leaders from across campus have been incredible supports to these efforts. Excellence in teaching, research, and service remains and will continue to remain our #1 priority. The work of faculty, staff, and students across campus has continued to support that mission this past year. Over the next few months, we will be launching searches for the new Provost and Vice President Academic and the new Vice President Research and Innovation here at the University of Windsor. These 2 leadership roles are key in supporting and shaping our commitment to teaching, learning, research, service, and collegiality at this institution, and how the university lives up to its mission. The search process for these positions is governed through Senate bylaws and is designed to ensure that members of our campus community will have input as these searches proceed. We are also moving forward with a genuine commitment towards sustainability across our institution. This will involve the further development of a sustainability framework designed to enhance engagement by our students, staff, and faculty, and measurable actions and goals related to our environmental footprint. We're also presently recruiting our first sustainability officer for the university. An exciting sustainability project that we are implementing this year is the new dual drive chiller on campus, which will replace our existing steam-driven chiller. This project by itself will result in an annual greenhouse gas emission reduction of up to 3,000 tons of carbon, which represents approximately 30% of our current carbon footprint and will help to support our goals towards future carbon neutrality as a campus. Community partnerships and engagement are critical for us as an institution of higher learning. Our economic impact is a significant part of that, but partnership and collaboration are equally vital. As the community came together to face the challenges of the pandemic, many members of our campus community answered the call. Resource sharing and joint initiatives with community partners, including our friendships with the City of Windsor, municipalities across Essex County, the hospitals, St. Clair College, and many community-based organizations were really important to the regional effort to manage COVID. One key example is the COVID-19 wastewater testing initiative that I know that many of you have been reading about. An interdisciplinary University of Windsor team has been foundational to the evidence-based decision-making that is so critical in times of uncertainty. This research is being used more than ever before to support regional, provincial, and national decision-making as we work through the pandemic. The university also plays an essential and proud role in the prosperity and future of the City of Windsor. This past year, the university and the city began work on a partnership agreement intended to help build a stronger partnership ecosystem to support and facilitate joint initiatives across a range of common priorities. It's a promising opportunity for us to understand each other better and to identify effective ways we can work more effectively together in the future. We're also pursuing similar partnerships with regional municipalities across Essex County. It's hard to believe that we have nearly 150,000 university alumni around the world, and that number continues to grow. Identifying new and impactful ways of connecting with our alumni here in Windsor, Essex, and beyond is a priority for our hardworking and dedicated alumni team. In particular, I want to acknowledge the work of our Alumni Affairs team who have partnered with the Office of the Vice President, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion over the past year to lead a new initiative to celebrate and learn from our Black University of Windsor alumni. The goal being to listen to them about their University of Windsor experience, support consultation on new alumni programs, and identify approaches for future re-engagement. I'm truly proud of the incredible working relationship that we have with our University of Windsor Alumni Association. The contributions they make to the university are priceless, and they are always available to lend a helping hand whenever necessary. In particular, their ongoing support to our campus and the student experience is truly remarkable, and we are greatly indebted to their continued leadership. A big shout out to our donors over this past year. Thank you so much for everything you do for the University of Windsor. During 2021, you supported our people, our programs, and our campus with donations exceeding $7.7 million. This represents a more than 30% increase over the year before. Although we still have a ways to go, we are hard at work in building our advancement efforts across the university. Although the pandemic has made it difficult at times to connect and work with our donors, we are extremely excited about moving forward on our planning efforts from the past couple of years to better tell our story, to inspire others, and truly have an impact locally, nationally, and globally. It's our visionary donors who will undoubtedly help to make this a reality. Later this year, we will begin the search for a permanent Associate Vice President External who will provide strategic leadership in many facets of our external relations efforts, including alumni affairs, advancement, public relations, and communications and government relations. We are certainly excited about the growing relationship that we have with the city and building on the important connections that we have made with our municipal partners throughout the region. This also involves continuing to expand and enhance community engaged partnership in supporting student experience, our academic programs, our external services, our research, and our knowledge mobilization efforts as a university. As part of this, we are committed to enhancing our presence in downtown Windsor and in supporting an opportunity to grow an innovation ecosystem with our partners from throughout the region, including Invest Windsor Essex. Midsummer will also be the official opening of the Lancer Center, which represents an incredible partnership with our students. This state-of-the-art recreational facility will serve as a venue for high-performance athletics, support the recreational needs of our students, and also enhance our connection with the Windsor Essex community. It's also going to be home for all future University of Windsor convocation events, and so we're excited about that. I think it's important to take a few minutes to speak about the return to campus, and in particular, plans for the resumption of face-to-face learning. About 61% of courses will return to face-to-face learning next Monday. And we are also aiming for the majority of departments and units across campus to return to 50% capacity by the end of February. Over the past 20 months, the university has developed a robust set of health and safety protocols aimed at ensuring the safest return possible. And as the pandemic has evolved, our planning has too. We have been preparing and are truly prepared. I strongly encourage everyone to review all of the materials on the university's Return to Campus website as you prepare for your eventual return. Every unit across campus will also be regularly reviewing their own individual safety plans that we've worked on over the past year. We are really looking forward to seeing everyone again soon on campus. During 2022, I invite you to be part of an evolving conversation about the kind of university we want to be, the kind of values we want to champion and embody. Despite all of the challenges and difficulties, our efforts over the past year reflect a powerful commitment to each other, to learning and knowledge creation, and to this community. This is a chance to reflect on all that we have learned and all the ways that we have changed, to think about who and where we want to be in the next 5 to 10 years. I hope that that all of you from on campus and beyond will join us in this important strategic planning process for the University of Windsor, which we are calling Aspire, our first such plan in over a decade. Over the coming weeks, we will be having a large number of consultation sessions and also launching a blue sky survey to support our planning and hear from our community. Much more information is available on our Aspire website, so take a look. Finally, I want to thank all of you for coming by virtually today. I'm so proud of the University of Windsor in terms of what we've accomplished and what we will accomplish in the future. I look forward to further discussions in the coming months as the coming months unfold, and we'll now open up the floor for as many questions as we have time for. So back to you, Mary Jo, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rob, for such an enlightening presentation. There's so much to be proud of and obviously so much to look forward to. So the chat feature is now open. I invite anyone with questions to use the Q&A function. We'll take as many questions for President Gordon as time permits. And perhaps I'll start with our first one. So your presentation highlighted many community partnerships. Can you tell us a little bit more, share your vision for the University of Windsor's role in building that relationship with Windsor-Essex region?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Mary Jo, for that question. And certainly, the ability for us to continue to grow as a comprehensive post-secondary university in our region requires us to think about partnerships in everything that we do. Our reach is global, but certainly the important connections that we need to make on a daily basis needs to be throughout our communities here in our region in particular, and certainly beyond, but developing working relationships, how we can effectively support being better as an institution by working with the city, by municipalities across the region, by NGOs, with community groups across our region is essential to really allow the impact of our academic programs, our research, our knowledge creation, our creative work to really be optimized is through these impactful partnerships. And again, I'm really proud of all of the work that we've historically done to forge impactful partnerships. But I think that, certainly where we are today, I think these partnerships are much more important for us to build on, to learn about others, respond to other needs and be able to be a solution provider where possible, but also to really be able to learn and respond to challenges that many others are facing. So I see it being an essential attribute of how we move forward as a university, and I certainly do hope that the overall framework of partnerships is really clearly seen as a priority as we begin the consultative processes for our strategic planning efforts in the months to come.
Thanks, Rob, so important. Our next question, now that the Lancer Center and the Faculty of Law buildings are nearing completion, I think we're all excited about that. What are the next capital projects that will be planned for on campus?
That is a great question, and one of the things that we are hoping for as we complete our strategic plan for the university is to really establish as best as possible a campus master plan. I think building in a framework where we consult with our faculties, we consult with our community is going to be essential. I really do feel that the past 15 years, there's been a significant commitment institutionally to our campus footprint and our infrastructure. I really do think that the next decade is going to be largely to support our people, and we will continue to place priorities on impactful infrastructure, but we will have to do it through partnership, through strong engagement, and through leveraging relationships to support the significant costs that come with capital initiatives as well too. So certainly we'll continue to have conversations about that, but right now it's building I think a much better strategic framework for how we think about master planning for the years to come.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question, how will the university go forward after the pandemic? Will online courses continue to be offered in the same way they are now?
Yeah, and that's a really important consideration as well. And one of the things that we've had tremendous amount of conversations and discussions with our faculty and staff and students about is what is that new norm? And so our intentions as an institution are to take the lessons that we've learned during the pandemic and build those into our future learning opportunities as well. Certainly there's a number of initiatives that I think that we're going to be working on that will add on to the technology platforms that we've become accustomed to over the past 2 years and blend those into future teaching and learning opportunities. However, at the same time, I continue to believe that the strength of a university is based on bringing people to campus, and we are certainly want to see the vibrancy of those conversations and those collisions that happen when people are on campus to use those as a way to really help support our student experience. So it's something that certainly is going to be a strong kind of focal point for our strategic planning efforts. But ultimately, it's something that our university community as a whole will help shape the direction that we go post-pandemic.
Thanks, Rob. I think that's very important, obviously, to continue to build on a way to be together again. Our next question, you haven't touched on the future of our international students and how they fit into your vision. Can you address that?
Yeah, no, and again, it is something that we need to do a better job with. Certainly, we've had a number of conversations about developing post-strategic plan, an internationalization strategy for the university for the next decade. I think the immediate things that we need to be building into a framework like that are how we provide supports for enhancing and optimizing the student experience for all of our international students. There's a number of issues they've been dealing with over the past 2 years in particular that we need to do a much better job with. Certainly, we've done a number of things in terms of supporting tuition guarantees, which I think are a starting point, but are, again, just one step in terms of how we need to pay much greater attention to the realities that many of our international students are facing. More broadly, if we want to truly be an international university, I think we also need to think about how we provide opportunities for our domestic students to gain global experience in their academic programs as well. Also importantly, we have a large number of international relationships on the research front that we want to further build on as well. So I do think that certainly a broader international framework for the institution over the next few years is going to be essential for us, but paramount is how we provide appropriate supports for all of our international students here at the university and have it so that their student experience is one that they're all proud of as they participate in their academic programs here. And then when they do go home, or if they do stay here in Canada, that they will fondly look back at their time at the University of Windsor.
Thank you, Rob. Our next question, during online learning, we have made leaps and bounds in accommodating all students. As we move to in-person learning again, will there continue to be conversations with faculty about how to make learning accessible to all students, especially those who have disabilities who thrive in the online environment with recordings, transcriptions, and the option to work at their own pace through async option?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. I think it's really aligned with a lot of things that we've talked about this morning in terms of, how we as a university, support the change that's necessary at our institution. Being able to listen and respond to student needs across the university is going to be essential for us as we work our way through the pandemic. Again, as I've mentioned already, I'm truly hoping that the positive lessons that we've learned, how we've been able to kind of work through these really daunting challenges over the past 20 months will build into how we as a university become a true leader in supporting student experience and allowing all of our students to thrive within their academic programs as well. I'm really confident of the teams that we do have in place across the institution that can make that a reality. And certainly, we feel the need to be able to create programs and initiatives to support all of our students with the learning environments that they deserve moving forward as well too. So I suspect that the issues like this will become paramount as we again further develop our university strategic plan over the next several months. One of our certainly goals is to also have the strat plan followed closely by the development of a strategic academic plan and also a strategic research plan for the university. As I mentioned, we are in the process of recruiting a new provost to the university, and certainly we'll also be doing the same with a new vice president research and innovation. And I'm hoping that many of these attributes that we are speaking about today are going to be certainly built into how those plans move forward into the future.
Thanks, Rob. We certainly have learned much through this pandemic, and it sounds like you're going to be building on those learnings in your planning. That's fantastic. The next question is an apology, as I've been working while listening to this presentation, so I may have missed this, but has any progress been made with the search for the new registrar?
Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly, I know the provost has been working on some strategies to help frame that role in the future for the university. And I know that there's a plan being developed in terms of how that position will be managed moving forward. One of the things that we may want to think about clearly is, do we want the new provost to be in place before that search begins as well too? So there's a number of moving parts that are related to that role, but certainly I know that the AVP enrollment management as well as the provost are working on a bit of a plan around that.
Fantastic. Yeah, Rob, the university is a significant employer and partner in the community. Can you tell us a little bit more about your vision for the role the University of Windsor plays as a community builder?
We are one of the major employers in this region. We take that role very seriously, and that requires us to be part of how this community, Windsor, and this region, Essex County, evolves. I've mentioned a couple examples today about the importance of how partnerships are going to be so essential for us in our region to reach the goals that we've identified. But certainly we see ourselves as being an important partner in everything that happens within our community. Really also making sure too that we have certainly connections with organizations throughout the region that we can provide opportunities for our students to gain additional experience, enhance their student experience as well. So, having those networks, connecting those dots throughout the city and the region is something that we need to continue to build on and do a better job of, but certainly be able to build on some of our successes from the past.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is regarding the return to work. We keep hearing of faculty members receiving N95 masks, but students are not offered the same level of safety, nor are the latter afforded physical distanced rooms with capacity less than 75. I wonder whether the university is prepared to announce N95s for all students, learners, and guests on campus.
Yeah, that is certainly an issue that a number of people are dealing with. Certainly, I can highlight that we will continue to provide 3-ply masks for anybody on campus. Those will certainly be available as anybody walks into classrooms when we come back to campus next week. And certainly that is a measure that we actually did have a significant conversation with the chief medical officer on over the past couple of weeks as well. Again, we will continue to do our best to provide safety measures that are consistent with respect to the advice that we're given, but both by the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit and the province as well too. So, developing other safety protocols is key for us. One thing that we've been able to do over the past couple weeks, as well as we've adjusted our plannings for face-to-face offerings beginning next Monday, is that we have 60% capacity in any of the classrooms where students are going to be in. So we felt that that was an important threshold for us to try to build in to our planning moving forward as well. And certainly, as we've talked about, a number of other safety considerations that will continue to be paramount for us as we deal with Omicron and also continue to deal with the transition of people back to campus.
Thanks, Rob. The next question is, how are we ensuring air quality at the university?
Yeah, and again, that's certainly been a frequently asked question, Mary Jo. We are doing a number of things to measure air quality across the institution. Certainly our facilities teams have been hard at work at establishing a number of CO2 monitoring systems. Many of our rooms have been established with the ability to measure CO2 levels and certainly assess air exchange rates as people come back into classrooms. A number of other kind of key initiatives around air quality have been identified, and I believe that there's an information sheet available on the Return to Campus website that articulates all of the attributes of our air quality management systems that we're planning for. But again, we look forward to hearing from people if they have any concerns about air quality issues, and we will certainly do our best to respond to them as best as we can to support the health and safety of everybody that's coming on campus.
Thanks, Rob. You referred in your presentation to the strategic planning process and Aspire. How are you going to engage the local community with Aspire?
Yeah, that is a really important piece too, and I'm really happy. We've hired Fraser Fathers as the project manager for the strategic planning process, and we've got a large team from across the university as well as some external colleagues that are helping us out with the various structures we've established. One thing that we are going to be doing, which we've never done before, is actually personally through a letter from me reaching out to the local community to ask them questions about what we can do as a university to become a better partner, a better community member, and also how we can support their priorities moving forward as well. So that's one step of how we're going to be engaging the community in the process. But certainly, our intentions are over the coming months to have a number of consultation sessions with our internal university community, as well as community members from across Windsor-Essex, to hear from them of things that we can do better, what we need to do differently in the future, and how we can continue to work to be that true community partner that we aspire to be.
That's great. We'll look forward to that, Rob. Thank you. The next question, funding the humanities, arts, and social sciences is a common challenge within the province and in Canada. As we look to improve the human experience, how will the university be improving upon the resources, funding, collaborations, and focus on the Faculty of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, and specifically funding for paid experiential learning opportunities and increases with community partnerships?
Yeah, that certainly is a great and packed question. So a couple things that I can reference today. As I mentioned, we are in the process of starting the search for a new vice president of research, and I do truly feel that the next VPRI at our university needs to work with our entire university community to support the breadth of research that we do as an institution at an individual level, within research institutes, within academic units, and within faculties, and certainly with our external partners as well. So I see that being a key priority for us moving forward. Certainly we've been getting a lot of feedback as well too with some of the consultations we've done in preparing for that search, and certainly there's been a lot of suggestions about what we can do more to support the social sciences and humanities. I do think there's opportunities for us to continue to grow our SHIRC funding as an institution, but it's beyond that. I think it's finding ways of really being able to connect with those external partners more effectively. I think it's finding ways of us leveraging available government funding. I think there's been untapped opportunities in programs like MyTax to support social sciences that we need to do a better job with. And then finally, too, we're working towards creating more incentives through our activity-based budgeting process to really provide support for pre- and post-award initiatives in research across the university through our research support funds that we get from the federal government. So, the last thing we want faculty members to be doing is spending all their time with dealing with research contracts and expense forms. We want them to be engaged in the discipline-specific work they do, and then also working interdisciplinary with colleagues across the institution. I think there's a real opportunity for us to really build on some of the fantastic researchers that we have across the university, and in particular the researchers that are doing important work in the social sciences and humanities, and find ways of really helping to provide supports for them, their students, and really creating a much more rich environment for research in those important areas.
Thank you, and thanks for all the questions. We have time for one more question. Should the students and instructors keep their mask on at the classroom during the lectures?
Yeah, and we are asked that question quite a bit. Certainly, as everybody is well aware, we have a mask policy which requires people to keep their masks on, and that's something that we certainly continue to make sure that we've got the right approaches to really be able to support how we deal with issues where people are not in compliance on that. But certainly for the foreseeable future, our mask requirements will continue to stay in place for people that are on campus, and we hope that everybody really does respect that important safety measure that we all must adhere to. Beyond that, though, I think it's important to recognize that we have taken, as we've said repeatedly, a multi-layered approach to dealing with the health and safety challenges the pandemic has thrown our way. And again, I can't be more proud of the incredible effort from across the institution in terms of the hard work that's taken place over the past 20+ months in terms of making sure that our campus is safe every single day. And it will continue, as we've said, to be our certainly #1 priority as we work through the pandemic.
Thank you, Rob. Unfortunately, time is running out for today's event. I want to add my admiration and thanks also to the, what was it, 550,000 hours of volunteer to the community through the pandemic. That's so incredible and wonderful. And also to acknowledge all of you who have put so much effort into ensuring that we stay focused on why we're all together. Again, thank you for joining us for the President's State of the University address. I hope you have a wonderful day.